Welcome to this DIGITIMES interview at SEMICON 2025 in Taiwan. And especially we're here to talk more about packaging and also the imaging analysis. Today we're very glad to have two experts here with us. First, I would like to introduce Hervé Massé, Global Business Development Director for Semiconductors. Hello, Hervé.
Hello.
And Sean Lee, APAC Managing Director at Tescan.
Thank you for having us here today.
Thank you for joining us, gentlemen. Tescan, we know the place because the company locates in Brno, Czech Republic, and it has 35 years of history. So people are wondering, okay, for the semicon landscape is shifting quite rapidly. So the first question goes to Hervé. So for example, especially in advanced packaging, for your global semiconductor view, how does Tescan fit into this shift?
Yes, thanks for the question, Victoria. So Tescan, we are working with customers at different stages from R&D, pathfinding, ramp-up productions, support of manufacturing, failure analysis, and fortunately, if there is any field return or any zero miles defect. So we support really customers tackling 3D ICs, chiplets, heterogeneous integrations by developing and focusing on the workflow-centric solutions. So what's critical in this business is that teams can localize issues faster, prepare samples in a reliable way, and more important, they have to deliver quality results. But you need to deliver decisions. Without a decision, it's impossible for customers basically to decide what's next step. So our role really as a failure analysis, metrology, equipment vendor is to remove this friction between basically questions to an insight. And we hope to not only be an instrument provider to the market.
Okay, so Sean, we look at the poster here. We see a tagline, accelerating the art of discovery. Could you explain a little bit more for the customer to know about your concept?
Okay, I think it has come to kind of like a big change this year. I think traditionally marketing has always been how to reach the customer, whereas the branding itself is really trying to embark on the why. So I think this year moving forward, I think the rebranding exercise is trying to refocus on why customers would like to choose us, all right? Besides the catchy colors, which is going to be a reform life. I think we have actually shifted from a product lens of a solution and a workflow mindset. Practically, that means it's a tighter integration of software, automation, and application expertise. So every customer could actually reach the capability faster with less, let's say, variability. All right. The aim is really to shorten the distance between the question and the answer through the integrated workflows with smarter software and enablement program. I think that's the aim, and people will remember us for these things. So that's the purpose of the rebranding.
With this concept, and people were wondering, so this year we see a direct presence in Taiwan of Tescan. So people are like, is it because there is strategically a geopolitical issue or anything related?
Well, I think if we put away the geopolitical situation, this year it has been a strong focus on semiconductors. And if you talk about semiconductors, throughout the global landscape, you realize that Taiwan is definitely a place where it's been renowned for all the expertise and all the high technology advancement in terms of wafer, in terms of packaging. So 80%, 70%, let's say, of the packaging market actually goes to Asia. And it has to be between Taiwan and the mainland. So I think coming direct presence in Taiwan gives us resonate with the rebranding, getting close to the customers. And the customers are the semiconductor customers, and semiconductor customers is saturated in this part of the world. So I think it is actually strategically been designed to come in direct so that we can get closer to those users that we really like to get close to, get the faster feedback. And to be honest, I think when you have a lot of the big names from Taiwan exploring outside of Taiwan, it will also benefit places like Southeast Asia and mainland China. So I think for us, I think it got to be a no-brainer to be really trying to get closer to the smartest people in semiconductor here.
Okay. Helve, according to your observation, or if you travel around the world and you see a lot of issues talk about Asia these days, especially semiconductor, and we do see a lot of promising countries like Singapore, Malaysia. How do you see the APAC region and what's the strong opportunities here?
Yes, I've been in this semiconductor business since more than 35 years, so I know the evolution of the market from monolithic integrations where everybody try to do everything in one technology, one die, to something which is completely innovative. So APAC is very strong in the advanced packaging market, it's quite obvious. Despite the European Chip Act and the US Chip Act to rebalance the global supply chain, definitely there are a lot of opportunities for Tescan in the APAC regions. And advanced packaging is really fantastic because it's all about doing micro machining at the micro, micro, and nano scale. And you have to reset completely your expectation from a sample preparation and failure analysis perspective. You have to think now about advanced packaging in a very complex chiplet architectures where you need to deal and to cope with multi-die, very complex stack. And basically, the opportunity for the company is to develop really these specific workflows where you move from basically a non-destructive insight where you localize your defect to getting access in an efficient way to the region of interest, which is more the micro scale. But ultimately, customers are expecting a response at a nanometer level about what kind of defect you might provide as an explanation and so on. So basically, if we keep working in the APAC regions with good application team and partners, I'm sure that basically we can develop those workflows and making sure that we scale them properly at, in Korea, in Taiwan, in Singapore, and very likely beyond those regions. It's a kind of workflow that really can be standardized for the complete semiconductor ecosystems. So my role is basically really, again, not to sell an instrument, but being able to equip customers with the capability to move from sample issues to real decision and do this kind of analysis in a fast, great way. And of course, with the time to data that makes sense.
I think Tescan is providing solutions with integration. So Helve, in this aspect, so what's the strategy next stage? Especially we see Tescan want to scale and also we want to standardize semiconductor workflows.
Yeah, absolutely. So standardization is something which is important because of course you don't want to repeat continuously customers to customers everything you are doing. So if I have to make some statements about two key priorities, the first one is what we called making sure that we can create some repeatable workflows. And there is a way to create those workflows is to codify them in such a way that you can transfer recipes through software automations, through different customers, and basically that the output will be the same across all the sites. But the second part, which is maybe as much important as the first one, is you need to train customers. You need to train customers and make sure that you strengthen this enablement by a disciplined and structured way. So customers basically learn how to use the best practice using this workflow and share what they like and what they don't like with that. So the goal is really, as for every standardizations, you do standardizations because you expect consistent results, customers to customers. And for given customers, you would like to show consistent results as well across all the technology nodes, trying to make your workflow as universal and repeatable as possible.
Okay, so Sean, we follow up that concept. So how do you feel and what do customers actually feel about Tescan, especially for the coming future? People think it's very promising.
Well, I think to be fair, I think despite the fact that he has 35 years of history, I think we have been really focusing into innovating new technology. But I think we hasn't been really that aggressive in trying to get this really out to customers to do. So with the new branding and with also a lot of our resources that's been put in place, including our subsidiary in Singapore, Taiwan, Korea, and we are stepping up in China, for example. I think what the customer should expect is to have to resonate with what we want to do is to have faster response. We're going to setting hub with better logistic flow. We have a hub in Asia. We're going to set up a few demonstration hub and really establish the network of partners. I think what they should also be expecting is rolling out new technology, new workflow that actually what the customer needs. I think like what Hervé was saying, going from an equipment seller into selling something that people actually needs. And to do that, I think that is something that we would like to work closer with the customers. And our service coverage will be an end-to-end installation, service, and recipe setup. And well, we were talking about software tweaks and updates. What you could also expect is a quicker escalation because we have the team in place. So you do not need to really go around places looking for customer support. You will have a closest, either a partner or a direct subsidiary in the locality that the customer is. So I think all in all, in short, closer collaboration, faster support, clearer guidance with really measurable improvements in daily workflows or not just on paper.
For SEMICON Taiwan every year, people will get to know latest technologies by the forum. So Hervé, you appeared to one of the forums called SEMICON Advanced Inspection and Metrology Forum Session. And what problems are you addressing?
So I'm really addressing more in detail this workflow, why we have a workflow. So of course, people dealing now with this advanced scaling, 3D integrations, very complex chiplet architectures, they really understand that things must change a little bit. And we need to rethink our workflow. And typically, let's say, Tescan in the past was a company, they focused on focused ion beams or spot focus traditional techniques to do cross-section and deering, but as a kind of isolation technique, and that's it. And it was not enough for me to provide a response. So we decided to really develop this integrated workflow where we take benefit of all the technologies of Tescan. And if you think about a workflow, again, you have to think about from macro to nanoscale. So you always start with a microanalysis, which is what we call the X-ray computed tomography technique. So it's a non-destructive technique where you can localize the defect. And then basically when you have enough confidence level that your region of interest has been localized in the micrometer level, then basically you can start to use a different technique like a standalone ultrashort-pulse laser. So those lasers are extremely quick to get access to the region of interest. They can do clean surface cutting, and they are not creating any thermal impact. And the specialists will talk about the heat affected zone is almost zero. And basically you can accelerate all your cross-sectioning dealing by a factor between 1,000 to 10,000. So again, it's really a kind of new technology where you cover a vast variety of materials from glass, polyimide, ceramic, metals, all the type of packages and devices that our customers have to go through. So overall, when you are finished with the lasers, then you move basically your sample to a focused ion beam. And the focused ion beam, this is a precise, fine technique to reveal in great details the structure of the materials at the nanometer scales. You can even think sometimes at the atomic scales. So together you have to think about a workflow, not only an equipment A plus an equipment B plus an equipment C, but the workflow is really how can you accelerate and boost basically the root cause analysis. And this is absolutely critical for customers. They need to get a very strong return on investment across all their packages. They are using multiple packages. So it starts with a defect localizations, and you go all the way down to the final characterizations of the problem, where it's coming from. And this is the fundamental questions that customers are expecting. And they can feedback, of course, to the production people, basically the root cause, and take the necessary actions to fix the problems.
Okay, to wrap up, Sean, what does the single commitment that the new Tescan want to make to our customers, especially in Taiwan and the APAC region?
Well, I think to really wrap up, I think traditionally we always tell people like how fast our car is. All right. I think moving forward, you should be expecting. We are trying to teach and work together with the customer how to drive fast. All right. So moving from an equipment focus into really workflow is one of those, but it's the enhanced application. Because paper spec literally means nothing, to be honest. All right. So how can we make the best use of the two to really come up with the intentional result that people want? That includes like finding the ultimate root cause of the problem that customer actually needs. So we would like to be a partner. We would like to be a partner for all of our target customers or potential customers. And like I said, I realize myself has been repeating myself a few times here. I think that helps to repeat the same message. We will be like, shorter time to data. All right, we'll process the data faster, and by standardizing certain sequence from non-destructive insight to precise preparation, backing it with like smarter software, and basically reducing the distance between a question to an answer. Whatever happened in between, we just make it happen, all right, to satisfy the customer.
Thanks to Sean and Helve. Thanks for watching. For more information, you can check our website. And until then, thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.